Welcome all you whiskey quaffers. This is Mark from WhiskyWhistle bringing you whiskey review number 32. Today we're going to be looking at, well, perhaps the most iconic brand in the industry of whiskey. Whiskey period, Scotch whiskey, perhaps even all whiskey. Well, here it is in front of you. This is a gift box of Johnnie Walker Black Label, 12-year-old. Now, I'm sure that you've heard of this brand before. This is pretty much, well, it is, the brand itself, Johnnie Walker, is the top-selling whiskey brand in the world. Scotch whiskey anyway, I'm guessing probably all whiskey. I could be wrong. There could be a Canadian or an American whiskey that outsells this brand in terms of number of bottles sold per year. But anyway, this is a juggernaut in the industry. And, what do you think of this? Now, before we continue, let me just always repeat myself. I'm really sorry about that, but I really do have to thank you for subscribing if you have, or if you just happened onto my YouTube, WhiskyWhistle, for the first time today. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope that you'll enjoy the program, the show. Anyway, so Johnnie Walker Black Label, pretty much the top-selling blended Scotch whiskey in the world, the top-selling Scotch whiskey in the world. As I've mentioned, repeating myself here. Sorry about that. But anyway, the next level down, which is Red Label, is probably the one that actually sells the most in terms of volume. The Red Label will be available in every single bar in all corners of the world, and the Black Label most likely will be as well. Red Label is kind of slated for mixing. Black Label is the beginning of what you could have neat or on the rocks. So anyway, you're probably wondering why I waited this long until review number 32 to cover the number one whiskey in the world. As you may know, my focus is generally single malt Scotch whiskey, although I do put in blended Scotch, blended malt, Canadian whiskey and bourbon from the USA, and I hope to cover all kinds of other single malts and other whiskeys from other parts of the world, Sweden and Japan, Australia, New Zealand, you name it. I really do want to try. So we're expanding our horizons here. Now, Johnnie Walker would have probably been the very first Scotch whiskey that I ever would have drunk before. Probably, I'm guessing, sometime around my 20th birthday, maybe before. It might have been in a mix. Although I do recall, I really did prefer just neat. I liked gin and tonic way back then, and martinis. But as far as whiskey, I think I generally preferred it neat. So I probably would have had a bottle of that, and I think probably my first bottle would have been this one right here, Johnnie Walker Black Label. And I think for many, it's a gateway whiskey into the world of single malt. And, the owner of this brand, who you may see rolling around on the screen there, I forgot my mirror, so I'm going blind today. I don't know what's on that screen right now. The owner is Diageo from Scotland. Diageo is the biggest alcoholic drinks company in the world. And not only do they own all kinds of Scotch blends and single malts and Canadian whiskeys and bourbons and other things, they also own the Guinness brand. So that just gives you an idea as to the reach of this global conglomerate. So anyway, now this is a gift box that came out here in Korea just a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. Korea is coming up on, I guess, one of its two biggest holidays of the year, which is called Lunar New Year, or Seollal. So Solala is quickly approaching, and all of the stores are throwing all kinds of gift sets into the supermarkets. The most popular gifts in Korea tend to be food and health products, as well as luxury liquor and wine. So anyway, nifty set. Now I'm going to show that to you. So let me just bring that a bit closer for you. Now looking at this is all in English here, except for a very little bit at the back. So this is probably something that you would have seen not only here in Korea, but in other parts of the world as a Christmas gift set. It's got a little bit of Korean on the back here. So, and there's the bottle. I'm going to move that to the front. There's a reason I've taken the bottle out. I'll tell you that in a minute. Okay, so on the box here, very nicely designed. You've got this really cool, Gildan Striding Man. That's the name of this iconic figure, is the Striding Man. Anyway, age 12 years, 40% alcohol by volume, 700 milliliters, limited edition pack crafted by Aaron Gregory. Okay, and let me just read the back here. Johnnie Walker Black Label is a taste experience like no other. This 12-year-old blend draws from exceptional blended Scotch whiskey stock to create a bold and distinctive flavor that has won a host of awards over the last century, including most recently 2009 San Francisco Spirits Competition, the gold medal. Johnnie Walker Black Label is a multi-layered masterpiece of full flavor, featuring extraordinary spicy aromas, sweet vanilla character, rich dark fruits, and the signature Johnnie Walker smoky finish. Okay, and then, and this contains 22.4 single servings of alcohol. There we go. Okay, now let me open that up. I'm going to put that bottle back in there for a minute. There's a little bit more inside there which we may look at. So this is how it came. There we go. Wonderful gift set. If you're in Korea and you've got someone, maybe you're a university student and you want to get your father a gift, something small, this would be a good choice. This was about 40,000 won at Costco here in Korea. What I really liked about this set is the basically indescript, very classy, old-fashioned glasses, or on-the-rocks glasses they're called here in Korea. And let me take the sticker off. The only part here that shows that this is a Johnnie Walker slated glass is the Striding Man there in the base of the glass. Anyway, so hats off to Johnnie Walker for not over-embellishing and over-marketing the sort of gifts with purchase. I think that's really, really great. Anyway, now I took this out because, well, there's a bit of an odor, a little bit of an odor in this set. So that's why I took it out. Anyway, so don't leave it in there too long, I would say. Okay, now I'm going to set that down here for a minute, and we're going to get to the pouring. I know you've been waiting for that, haven't you? Screw cap, nothing wrong with that. And we'll pour a somewhat healthy little dram of Johnnie Walker Black Label. There it is. And color-wise, well, that's pretty much your standard Scotch whiskey color, which is not exactly natural. Not natural. There is color added, no doubt. But that's okay. It's also chill filtered. It's 40%, which is the bare minimum for the industry. So you're getting a basic product, but it's got an age statement. It's 12 years old. So thank goodness that they have not taken that number off of this bottle yet. Let's hope they never do. Okay. And, well, as always, we'll let that sit for a little bit. Let me read the inside here. Johnnie Walker Black Label is potentially the most recognizable whiskey brand in the world. It would be easy to attribute the success of Johnnie Walker Black Label to its iconic appearance. Black Label, slanted across its square sides, it has a presence and impact that few can match. But we all know it's what's inside that counts, and we'll find that out. The Walkers knew this more than most, and in 1906, the family introduced another important element to the pack, the 12-year-old age statement. This important commitment guarantees that every single whiskey that goes into creating Johnnie Walker Black Label must be at least 12 years old. At its heart is the family's belief that this whiskey captures the best of what the Scotch whiskey industry can create, a true icon. Johnnie Walker and Sons. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to set that off to the side now. Perhaps right back there. There we go. Nice to have you next to me, Mr. Walker. Okay. So without further ado, let's get on to the smelling and the tasting notes. Now, again, this is a blended Scotch. So generally what these blenders did, they wanted to create something that was essentially Scottish, coming from all parts of the country. So you've got lots of malts and grain whiskies that come from various corners of Scotland, all blended together to have a particular flavor that should be standard year to year, decade to decade. At least it should be. There could be a few slight changes. Some distilleries close, others open, stocks change, casks change, etc. But I think there is some continuity there between year to year and so on. Okay, so on the nose, you've got some mild peat, apples, toffee, and spices. And as I've said before, it's got kind of a fresh nose. It seems like when you put a bit of peat together with fruit flavors and so on, and some saltiness, you get something that is really invigorating. It really kind of wakes up your senses. Okay. And let's see, one other thing, well, I guess the other thing, Jim Beveridge, who is the master blender for the Johnnie Walker brand, we should give him a toast to you, sir. Thank you very much for keeping that 12-year-old age statement on the bottle. Cheers, everyone. Starts off sweet with some astringency. Again, kind of like banana, the mouthfeel of banana skins or unripe persimmons, if you're familiar. It's very, very soft. So 40%, it is the minimum. There are lots of 40% sorts of hard alcohol that come off very harsh, and this definitely does not. Soft. There's orange and caramel, a little bit of saltiness, and a little bit of a waft of peat that comes through there. Dry, but not too dry. That's that astringency, and some oiliness, which is nice. And we'll try that once more for the finish. Okay, so you swallow it, open your mouth a little bit, maybe smack your lips a couple of times, and you'll start to feel that finish. Some pepper, some ginger, the peat returns, some nuttiness, and some raisins. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of water. That's about 30 milliliters. So we're going to add, not quite, I don't want to add a full teaspoon here. I'm going to add about half, a little more than half a teaspoon. There. It's 40%. You do not need to add much. And let that mix a little bit. And while that sits there, and now make sure you let it wait, because the water will react with the spirit. You'll get a wave of kind of just alcohol on your nose. So just let that sit for a little while. We'll talk a little bit about this brand. So Johnnie Walker, the spiritual home is Kilmarnock. Hopefully I've said that correct. Kilmarnock in Scotland. And well, unfortunately they're no longer there. 2012, they closed the doors to the facility there. And Johnnie Walker, 130 million bottles a year. And I guess that's standard 700 milliliter bottles. 130 million bottles a year. Huge, huge brand. The history, Johnnie Walker had some sort of a trading post or a store in 1820, and tea merchant would have been one of his former sort of hats, blending tea. And in 1865, he began blending Scotch whiskey. Now, his son and his grandson, Alexander and Alexander II, they are responsible for a lot of the marketing innovations. The square bottle, which allows them to ship more. There's less empty space in the box when you ship, less breakage. They also introduced the slanted label. It's slanted at apparently 24 degrees for the reason of making the letters, getting the letters bigger, more visible. Interesting. And also the striding man, another thing that was introduced. And lastly, at around 1906 to 1909, they began introducing the color labels, the black label, the red label, and so on. Blue label, green label, platinum, gold label, etc. Not all of those are around anymore. White label is gone. Green label, 15-year-old blended malt, no grain whiskey in there. This seems to be only available on occasion rather than year-round in all parts of the world. So some slight changes to the lineup. Generally, they've kept their age statements to some degree. Some of them have been dropped. For example, the gold label has lost its age statement. And, well, we don't want to talk too much about that. That's for a different conversation in a different venue, I would say. Okay, so 1925, a company called Distillers Company bought the brand, and this was then acquired by Guinness in 1986. Guinness then merged with Grand Metropolitan to form the Diageo Corporation in 1997. And then, as I mentioned, 2012, they closed the doors, and they were formerly the largest employer in that town. So that's a little bit of a black mark, but you know, as a global brand, as the ambassador to Scotch whiskey, Johnnie Walker is surely responsible for a lot of other things that go on, all kinds of charities and so on. Okay, anyway. Black Label, by the way, is a blend of 40 whiskeys, 40 malts and grains. So some malts and some grains. And let's see, Cardew And Talisker and Lagavulin are largely featured in this particular blend. Okay, let's try that with water now. Now you know what I'm going to say. Less peat and more sweet. More caramel, the entrance of some vanilla. More raisins. Anything else I forgot there? The spices are still there. I would say the nose is nicer with a little bit of water. Okay. Now let's try that one more time. Cheers to all the subscribers, new and old, and thank you again. A little bit more vegetal and herbal with water added. And I've written here cinnamon and brown sugar. Bit of vanilla. Now I totally forgot about all those ads again, so there will be an ad right about now. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too offensive. In fact, hopefully you enjoy. Sometimes the ads on YouTube are pretty interesting, especially the ones here in Korea. Okay, finish-wise, the finish in particular really sings with water. More spice, some cut hay, and there's a nice grain flavor. Kind of like wheat and honey. If you're either Polish or Ukrainian, is it called kuche? So wheat and honey, there's a wheat and honey kind of a flavor there. Some orange peel, and there's still a little bit of raisins left there as well. So I do like the nose and the finish better with a bit of water. The palate, you know, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Okay, my final notes here. Drinkable, good for mixing or neat, or ice if that's what you like. It's great that it has an age statement. It's readily available, and it's most people's introduction to Scotch whiskey. And I think it does a very good job of it. So, from WhiskyWhistle, the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Johnnie Walker 12-year-old will be 83. 83 points for Johnnie Walker Black Label 12-year-old. Okay. Anything else? I think that's roughly about it. And, well, thanks for watching. Again, my name is Mark. You've been watching WhiskyWhistle. I hope you'll be back again. And if so, we'll see you then. Take care and have yourself a great day or night, whatever time it is there. Goodbye.